Time in Boston, which means playoff time for the Celtics, and all roads lead to the Boston Garden, the grand dame of NBA arenas, for the deciding game of the series between the Celtics and the upstart Atlanta Hawks. Rookie Dominique Wilkins, the man they call the human highlight film, has had a strong 2 games, both defensively and offensively, for the underdog Hawks, while the underrated and underpublicized Dan Roundfield has been the best player in the series with 43 points and 32 rebounds. Celtic tradition counters with one of the NBA's crown jewels, Larry Bird, one of a kind, who seems to save his best for the big games, and one of the most mobile big men in the game in Robert Parrish, who can block, rebound, and still find time to fill a lane on the fast break. Atlanta sailing into Boston for a 1-game season today on CBS. Welcome to the legendary Boston Garden, home of 14 of these NBA World Championship banners, and sold out for the 117th consecutive time for the showdown today between the Celtics and the Hawks. Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Lever. Nothing new, this pressure situation for the Celtics. They've been in a do-or-die game 6 times. In the last 2 years, they've won 5, the lone exception the big one against Philadelphia. It is something new, however, for the Atlanta Hawks. In fact, Friday night, Kevin Lockery won his first NBA playoff game as a head coach. But the Hawks have been playing very confidently. With me is Doug Collins, the former 76ers star. And if the truth be known, Atlanta has really outplayed Boston these 2 ball games.
Frank, they've controlled tempo in both these ball games. They want to continue to do that today. Keep the score under 100 if at all possible, and force Boston on the perimeter to shoot the outside shot.
Well, the guards of Boston have to shoot better. They're 14 out of 44. They started off 0 for 14 the other night. That's got to be a big key.
I think they've got to get off and shoot the ball well here early. They're going to start looking over their shoulder and worry about people coming in to replace them otherwise.
Hawks got to stay out of foul trouble with the big men because they don't have the depth on the Boston Celtics. There'll be no tomorrow for one of these teams, and we'll find out which one when we come back with the starting lineups and the opening tip-off in just a moment.
The NBA on CBS. Today's playoff game, sponsored by the 1983 Honda Motorcycles. Engineered performance for over 20 years. Miller High Life. Welcome to Miller Time. And by Homelight String Trimmers. Homelight for the finishing touch.
Roaring crowd of 15,320 capacity here at the Boston Garden. On their feet, applauding their Celtics as the starting lineups are being introduced. Let's take a look at those opening matchups. At forwards for the Hawks, Dan Roundfield. For the Celtics, Cedric Maxwell. At the other forward, Dominique Wilkins, who did a great job defensively on Larry Bird the other night in Atlanta. At center, 7-foot Trey Rollins against 7-foot Robert Parrish. In the backcourt, Rudy Macklin and Danny Ainge. That'll be one of the key matchups in the ballgame. Macklin with a good shooting night the other night, and Johnny Davis will match up with Gerald Henderson. The officials in the contest, Paul Mahalik, Gerald Garrettson, and Mike Mathis, who will be the alternate. And as Bill Fitch was telling us yesterday, the non-glamorous matchups may be the one that decide this game.
Yes, you know, your Larry Birds and your Dan Roundfields and Dominique Wilkins and Maxwell's, they're going to sort of balance each other out. The key has been the poor shooting of the Boston guards, and Kevin Lockery was thrilled the other night. He thought they could have won the basketball game on Wednesday night. They were up 4 with 6 minutes to go in the game, and Boston got one of the 3 spurts that he's felt they've only had in this series.
Now, you've been in a sudden death situation with the 76ers many times. Your throat get a little drier in this type of game?
You know, I think that the big thing you have to watch out here is that the Celtics does not allow this crowd to play the game for them. I thought that they got involved in that last year against Philadelphia in Game 7.
That's the way Game 1 and Game 2 went. Game 1 in Boston. And actually, Atlanta led in that game by 4 points with 6 minutes to go. Larry Bird with a rush and Quinn Buckner, and then Atlanta wins Game 2 Friday night by 2 points. Parrish and Rollins will jump center to the winner of berth against the Milwaukee Bucks in the semifinal playoff series. Danny Ainge in the backcourt for the Celtics. Boston's big problem has been shooting the ball by the guards. Here's Bird. And Bird has been forcing a lot of shots like that one. Wilkins.
Frank, Boston wants to up-tempo this game as much as possible. Atlanta does not have much depth with Tommy McMillan sidelined a little bit. He might play today, but he's hurting, as is Rudy Macklin.
They simply can't get into a running game with the Celtics, the Hawks. They've got to keep it slowed down as much as possible. Ainge, three-pointer.
That has to be a big confidence booster for Danny Ainge to come out. They started out the game the other night 0 for 14 from the floor in Atlanta. He and Gerald Henderson combined.
So a 3-0 lead for the Boston Celtics. Ainge guilty of the foul. Reaching over Rudy Macklin. That's his first. Ainge shot just 35% last year, moved that up to 49% this year. But he was a great shooter in college. It's a little bit of a mystery why he isn't shooting better.
You have to learn to play with contact more in the pros. The guys have their hands on you, and that will distort your shot a lot, Frank. And you really have to get your legs and know how to square up and shoot the basketball. It's a different game than in college.
Maxwell slapping it out of the hands of Brownfield, and the Hawks inbound. Ainge going for the steal. Henderson slaps it away. Loose ball to the floor. Johnny Davis comes up with it. Davis blocked from behind by Maxwell. Celtics on the break. Ainge trying to bank that one. Rebound, Henderson.
Kevin Lockery is very concerned about Boston getting out to a big, quick, early lead because he just doesn't feel they have the firepower to come back on the Celtics, especially in this building.
He says that's the worst thing that could happen is Boston get out to a 12-4, 12-2 lead, as he doesn't know if his team could recover. Well, if Brownfield shoots like that, they won't have any problem. Dan Brownfield, averaging 19 per game, does everything for the Atlanta Hawks. Henderson. Well, I would say the Boston Guards are starting off in pretty good fashion. 3 for 3.
Yes, they have 7 all total of their points, so it looks to me like they're going to them early, trying to get their confidence.
7-2, Celtics lead it. Johnny Davis in the backcourt, obtained from the Indiana Pacers on New Year's Eve after he sat out the first part of the season, a holdout dispute. Davis has it stolen. Maxwell. Henderson. Parrish from 15. Celtics are on a roll. They lead it 9-2 with the game 2.5 minutes old. Timeout, Atlanta. And the Celtic fans love it. So Boston on an early roll here in the Boston Garden, trying to move into the semifinal round of the playoffs, leading Atlanta 9-2. First half of a double dip of NBA action on CBS today. Later this afternoon, depending on where you happen to be, you will see the New York Knicks and the fantastic Bernard King, who's had a super year thus far, matched against Philadelphia and Moses Malone. Or the Portland Trailblazers and their great star, Jim Paxson, against the Lakers and the incomparable Magic Johnson. Atlanta trailing 9-2. They've got to slow it down here, Doug.
Yes, you know, what happens sometimes with Boston coming down scoring so quickly, Atlanta feels like now that they're going to come back and score quickly, and that's not their game. They've got to use the shot clock and execute and get a good high percentage jump shot or layup.
Rudy Macklin looking for help. He had a hip pointer the other night, but has come back nicely off it, trying to drive the baseline on Henderson. Foul is on Henderson. The team's second foul. Brownfield will inbound it. Going for the alley-oop that time, but Wilkins was not in position. Celtics bring it down quickly. Maxwell. Bird, Wilkins trying to stay with him, get some help. Parrish with the baby hook.
That was just a tremendous pass by Larry Bird. He had Tree Rollins on him. He pump faked, and Tree thought he had passed the basketball. Retreated off of him. He made a nice entry pass to Robert Parrish for a baby hook.
Even the other night, Friday night, when Bird went 4 for 18, which is as poor as he'll ever go, he had the assists and the rebounds, which make him such a great player. Macklin on the drive.
Looks like the Hawks are trying to post up Rudy Macklin here early in the game and get him going against Danny Ainge.
Henderson waiting for Parrish, who has had a great year for the Celtics so far. He and Bird have been spectacular. Maxwell blocked on him by Macklin. Brownfield comes out of it with the basketball. all the way, coast to coast. And Roundfield, who is right-handed, dunks with his left hand.
Danny Roundfield's strong power move is to his left. He likes to dunk that ball with his left hand. A play like that can get Atlanta fired up and going again.
11-6. Celtics lead trimmed to 5. Boston working it on the outside. Bird failing to hit. Rebound. Henderson takes it away from Davis. Maxwell trying to penetrate, knocks Roundfield down. Parrish has it ripped out of his hands. It is Boston's ball. You know, we talked to Bill Fitch yesterday, and Bill indicated, as you look at this replay,
The Cornbread got Tree Rollins up in the air, but Tree with those long arms was able to reach in and strip the ball away from Robert Parrish.
Ames with the miss, and Tree Rollins collects the rebound. Bill Fitch was telling us yesterday that Atlanta plays an illegal zone. The zone, of course, is illegal in the NBA. He said tape showed they played it 2 or 3 times down the floor on Friday night, and he's going to try to expose it early. In what way?
Well, you keep the floor wide and force the team to play defense.
Maxwell hitting for the Celtics to make it 13-6. You do what now?
Well, you widen the floor offensively, and there's little hash marks on the floor that give the referees the guidelines, so you really point it out that way and play a lot of 2-on-2 basketball.
Davis one-on-one with Gerald Henderson. Great move to the hoop, trying to reverse layup, and Bird was there to block it. Jump ball. Roundfield and Bird.
Frank, Boston is playing with a lot more emotion today than they did the other night. They are really into this ball game. Johnny Davis with a strong drive here on the baseline. Didn't get it to go down. Bird with a piece of it. And then when the ball went out of bounds, Bird and Roundfield tied up, and they called a jump ball.
Celtics as a team shot only 40% on Friday night. They've shot only 44% in the first game. Well below their season average of 49. Tree Rollins comes up with it. Hawks, you know, set an NBA record this year for block shots. Pushing foul against Atlanta.
Danny Roundfield trying to post up there, used his off arm to push off against Cedric Maxwell. A big key in this game, and Kevin Lockery feels that 2 guys that can't get in foul trouble for him are Danny Roundfield and Tree Rollins.
Celtics beat the Hawks 5 of 6 times in regular season play, but Bill Fitch will tell you the series is really a lot closer than that. A lot of injuries involved, several of those games. Henderson trying to drive against Davis, and Davis will get the call. Of course, Johnny Davis is no stranger to you. I know you played against him.
Right, Johnny Davis was a starter on that Portland Trailblazer team along with Lionel Hollins that won the championship, and he's an explosive, fast-breaking, quick player.
Shot for Henderson. Bird with the rebound. Fouled as he put up the shot. Let's see if it goes against Wilkins here.
The Celtics' history has always been a great offensive rebounding team that gets a lot of second shots. Their theory has always been, Frank, that you get a lot of shots up there, attack the offensive boards. Second shots is where a lot of the scores come from the Celtics, and Larry Bird is an excellent offensive rebounder.
Also an excellent free throw shooter normally. In fact, in the first 2 games, he's hit 15 out of 16. That foul, by the way, went against Roundfield, which is his second. Bird has not scored. Friday night against Atlanta, he had just 1 basket in the first half. Wound up with 15 points, but only 4 baskets. 14-6 Celtics. Just under 7 minutes left to play in the opening period here at the Boston Garden. Dominique Wilkins. Parrish with the rejection. Wilkins getting it back. Jumper is short, and Larry Bird comes out of it. Maxwell has it ripped out of his hands and out of bounds. Look at ML Carr on the bench cheerleading. Is he something over there?
Well, that's great to see a veteran player such as ML to give you that enthusiasm, especially these guards out here. He's really encouraging Danny Ainge and Gerald Henderson. He knows what it's like sometimes to struggle.
That's the time left in the first period of play here at the Boston Garden with the Celtics leading 14-6. Davis looking for help, goes to the great rookie Dominique Wilkins. Out of the University of Georgia to Roundfield. Shot over Bird, fails, and Bird gets another rebound. Good outlet to Maxwell. Maxwell hits it, he's fouled. And Kevin Lockery can't believe the call.
That's one of those calls that could go either way. Cedric Maxwell on the drive. Rudy Macklin moving through his shoulders into Cedric Maxwell. He wisely got the shot up. It went in, and now have an opportunity for a three-point play.
Substitution coming into the game. Tom McMillan will check in for the Atlanta Hawks. Maxwell will go to the free throw line with a chance to complete the three-point. What do you think his nickname is?
Pads.
Pads, right? He's got more pads on his body than any player in the NBA.
I played against him, and he made the Olympic team in '72, and we worked out against him. And as a teammate, you make him wear those pads in practice. He's dangerous, those elbows and knees. He's so bony.
Guy goes up for a rebound. His body is a ball of knives. Maxwell completing the three-pointer. Celtics leading 17-6, and this is just what Kevin Lockery didn't want to have happen. Lockery's ready to go a little deeper into his bench as the ball is bounced out of bounds. Mike Glenn, who is perhaps his best shooter coming into the game. Kevin told us last night the one thing his ball club really lacks is a pure shooter. He says, give him Andrew Toney, and he thinks he could make it interesting.
Well, I tell you, one thing he has done here, he's taken out Dominique Wilkins early. Give him a rest, I think, to calm him down. Dominique is a little fired up, taking about 2 or 3 bad shots, just trying to get him to calm down a little bit right now.
Davis inside to Tree Rollins. Not a bad hook shot for the big man. Tree Rollins, number 1 on the NBA SWAT team. Leading shot blocker in the league as Larry Bird buries one from outside. His first basket of the afternoon, so he answers Rollins' bucket. And it's still an 11-point Celtic lead. Glenn trying to penetrate, shove it inside, but he's called for traveling.
Mike Glenn has instant offense for Atlanta. When he comes off the bench, they're going to run him off 2 or 3 screens, hope that he'll get his jump shot going because he is one of the pure shooters in this league.
Turnover situation so far has worked in favor of the Boston Celtics. Larry Bird. 21-8. I think the Celtics came to play. 22nd timeout. And this is exactly, as we said, what Kevin Lockery was afraid of. The Celtics running out to an early lead. Kevin now trying to regroup this team. He spent 8 years with the Nets, of course. Second year with Atlanta. Had him in the playoffs both times. And, of course, played on 4 different teams in the NBA during his career. They finished 6th in the standings and won less games than any other team that qualified for the playoffs. Well, at this point, what would you think? What would be his advice to this ball club?
Atlanta has not gotten good shots. Their tempo is too quick right now. And again, what happens is you get behind and you think that you need to catch up in a hurry. Atlanta is not that kind of team. They've got to come down, use the shot clock, run Mike Glenn off a screen, post up Danny Roundfield, get the ball in the high percentage area shots. They're not going to beat Boston in an up-tempo, freelance type of basketball game.
Steal by Henderson, who came out of nowhere. Missed the little hook, and McMillan comes up with it. Boy, did he come out in a flash. Just a blur to make that steal. Rollins. That turns it around nicely, doesn't it?
Well, that's a 4-point play there. The 2 that Henderson missed and the dunk that Tree got. That's a big swing right there for the Atlanta Hawks.
21-10. Boston with the lead. 4.5 minutes remaining in the opening period here at the Garden. Maxwell moving inside on McMillan. Can't get the shot away. Henderson. Offensive foul. McMillan took the charge. McMillan has got more aches and pains. I know he's got a groin problem. He's got a foot problem. Friday night he was really limping up and down the floor.
You know, what Gerald Henderson did just then, he tried to take the ball to the basket when he had a jump shot. You do that a lot when your jumper's not falling the way you'd like for it to.
Second foul, by the way, on Henderson. Johnny Davis, who had 18 points and 14 assists on Friday night, gets his first basket. Been a great addition for the Atlanta Hawks. There's Eddie Johnson out with injury. Larry Bird answering for the Celtics. He has 7 points in the opening period.
More importantly, he's hit his last 3 shots. He struggled early, and now he's hit his last 3.
Davis with a great move to the hoop. Drives it and scores. Talk about great penetration. He really went after it here.
Well, he just explodes the basket. He's got the ball in his weak hand, too, his left hand. Saw Robert Parrish come over, sort of double pump the ball. Robert Parrish hit him in the head, and he had enough concentration to get the ball up and in the basket.
Robert Parrish picking up his first personal foul. Three-point play for the veteran Johnny Davis. Davis with 5. Atlanta pecking away now. 23-15 Celtics. Bird, three-pointer. You know, 8-point lead, you wonder why you're shooting three-point shots.
Yeah, at this particular time in the game, even this Larry Bird, you don't want to take that shot. Get it inside, and you've had so much great success inside. Get it in there where you can score.
Davis trying to find an opening. Henderson all over him.
It's called a 3-second violation on Tree Rollins. He was setting the screen in the lane area and got called for being in the lane.
Tiny Archibald comes into the game replacing Henderson, who gets a breather.
This is sort of along pitcher's lines. He feels like that if Henderson can give him 8 or 10 good minutes to start the game, then bring Tiny in.
Lockery was telling us yesterday that Henderson is one guy he wants out of the ball game. He feels very nervous with him in there.
Especially if he's teamed up with Tiny.
Danny Ainge is open. Dominique Wilkins behind the back pass and a beauty to Davis. Hits. Not a bad pass for a big man.
Dominique is a very exciting young basketball player who's only going to get better and better.
What a battle inside between Maxwell and McMillan. I mean, there's all kinds of shoving going on. Traveling that time. 23-17. So the Hawks have trimmed the lead to 6. The Boston Celtics call time with 2 minutes, 43 seconds left to play in the first period. Boston 23, Atlanta 17. Frank Lieber with Doug Collins back in Boston. We talked about the war going on underneath. Watch this replay.
Well, Tom McMillan and Cedric Maxwell are not dancing here. They're trying to deny the ball from Maxwell. He gets the ball in low. Tom McMillan knows that Cedric Maxwell wants to draw fakes. Draw fouls. He pump fakes him. He does not leave his feet and forces Cedric Maxwell into a travel. That's a very smart play by Tommy McMillan, not going for that fake.
Does this game become more of a physical game rather than a finesse game in the playoffs?
Oh, definitely. You take in the playoffs, you try to take everything to the basket and try to put the onus on the official to put you on the foul line.
Johnny Davis launches it from 17. Davis with 4 now.
That's a mismatch right there. Johnny Davis against Tiny Archibald. Tiny defensively cannot stop Johnny Davis.
Tiny is 34 years old, and first thing to go, they say, is defense and your legs. But he can still shoot it, and he can still penetrate.
There's a foul in the lane area there. Tommy McMillan trying to deny Cedric Maxwell again. This time he was hit with a personal foul.
First foul on McMillan. It's the 4th team foul on Atlanta. Boston has 3. 2:10 left in the quarter. Now you got Wilkins and Bird engaged in a bit of a shoving match, and they get Wilkins.
There's a little bit of a second foul right there. Larry Bird sort of popped Dominique Wilkins. The official did not see it. He saw Dominique retaliate, and as a result, Dominique got the foul. Also, with Dominique being a rookie, playing against an established superstar like Larry Bird, a lot of times he's going to get those fouls.
Wilkins is the only member of the Hawks who has started all 82 regular season games and the playoff games as well. They need a lot of minutes out of him. There's the foul situation. You saw Wilkins come over his back, and that puts Bird on the line as Atlanta is over the limit.
As Larry Bird was getting ready to shoot his free throw, Dominique walked by him, and they sort of bumped each other and had words. So watch for these two guys to see if something's going to brew.
Bird only 2 out of 4 from the line, but Boston saving it. Parrish sending it outside to Maxwell. 24-19. 5-point lead for the Celtics. Bird again forcing the shot. Glenn comes up with the ball. Danny Ainge all over him. McMillan inside to Dominique Wilkins against Bird. And this time Bird got him. So Bird and Wilkins exchanging fouls. You know, Bird, I was checking the stats last night, leads Boston in 15 different statistical categories. That is unreal.
You know, he also leads them in another category. He makes every one of those people on the floor a little bit better because of his presence. He's the kind of player to make the pass, make the big score for you. He's an excellent defensive player, too, because he uses his body and hands so well.
Wilkins' first 2 points of the game. That makes it a 3-point game. Celtics were up by 13 at one point, 21-8. And now it's been narrowed to 3. Danny Ainge on the drive, off to Maxwell. Foul called underneath on Rollins.
Atlanta in a half-court trap that time. They were scrambling defensively. Danny Ainge up in the air. They sort of bailed him out by leaving their feet. Cedric Maxwell again with those pump fakes, trying to draw fouls. This time he got Tree Rollins up in the air and drew the personal foul.
Cedric Maxwell. He used to call him cornbread. You don't hear that so much anymore. Now it's just Max. He's got 6 points here in the opening period, which has a minute 29 to go. 4-point lead and now 5 for the Green. As Atlanta inbounds. The upstart Hawks try to pull off a big upset here. That's the time left in the opening quarter. McMillan trying to back in on Maxwell. And Maxwell fouled him. It's 2 on Maxwell. And McMillan will go to the line. Tom McMillan was the most recruited high school basketball player in America as a high school senior. Went to Maryland, became a Rhodes Scholar eventually, and plans to go into politics. Wants to run for Congress eventually.
You know, it's an overused cliche, a smart basketball player, but Tommy McMillan knows his strengths, he knows his weaknesses, and he plays exactly that way out on the floor. Doesn't try to do things he's not capable of doing.
26-23. Hawks continue their comeback, which has been slow but very impressive. Archibald throws it away, but a shoving foul called on McMillan for pushing on Maxwell. That's his second. He's already beginning to get that distinguished look, isn't he? Of a senator or a congressman. Maxwell has not had his greatest year this year. He's been a little off for the Celtics, contrasted to what he's done in the past. But a pretty good first period working for him, though. 8 points, 2 baskets, 4 out of 4 from the line. He was the MVP, you recall, 2 years ago in the championship series with Houston. The only reason that the Celtics are still ahead is because of their free throw shooting.
Well, that's because they're taking the ball inside and not living on the perimeter right now, Frank. They're forcing the officials to call the contact in low and get to the foul line.
5-point lead. Davis forced that shot. Tiny Archibald. Great pass down to Bird. 2 points. Archibald with a super outlet off the long rebound to Larry Bird. Bird has 10 in the opening period. Davis launching the 20-footer. 30 seconds to go in the opening period. Wilkins trying to save that one.
The reason Johnny Davis took that quick shot was because they wanted to get 2 shots to 1 now, with the shot being down now to 31 seconds. They're going to get the shot back, so they wanted to trade 2 shots for 1.
Lockery was telling us last night that Davis uses the clock better than any player he has ever been associated with in the NBA. And that's what he was doing right there. You saw Kevin McHale check into the lineup for the first time for the Boston Celtics. Despite the fact he's the 6th man, he is the 3rd most minutes. Great turnaround jumper by Robert Parrish. Less than 10 seconds. 32-23. Davis working that clock now to McMillan. Dominique Wilkins did not get the shot off. They waited a little too long, so the Celtics, with a surge at the end of the first quarter, lead it by 9 at the end of 1. Frank Labor with Doug Collins back in Boston. Second quarter coming up. Bill Fitch, who does not care for miniseries at all. He puts him in the same category with an IRS tax audit. And, of course, Kevin Lockery, the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. and one of our CBS broadcasters in the past. CBS, of course, the home of the NBA championships. You know, looking at that score between quarters, that's an awful lot of points for what Lockery was talking about.
Yes, he feels like if the score gets up to around 115, then his team would have trouble scoring that many points. So they need a good defensive quarter.
Both teams shooting a lot better than they were the first two games. But both clubs were in the 40s. Davis tried to penetrate on Tiny Archibald. Tree Rollins, 2 for 2 with that hook shot. Tree may be a little underrated offensively.
Well, he has a very good jump hook if you let him get the ball in the low post on the right baseline. That's his spot on the floor.
McHale with the fadeaway. There's a guy who will start for anybody, but for the Celtics, he is the latest in a long line of great sixth men. Ramsey, Havlicek, Nelson, Silas down through the years, and now Kevin McHale. Wilkins, maybe a little out of his range. Harris collects the rebound. Baseball pass down the court to Danny Ainge. 34-25. Boston leading early in the second. Archibald inside to McHale. Another great move to the hoop by Kevin McHale.
The only way he could make that shot was with great long arms that he has. He has a tremendous arm span. He just went to the other side of the glass, put it up off the backboard and in.
McHale becomes a free agent at the end of this year. And he will be a most wanted man, I would think, throughout the NBA. McMillan missing with the left-handed hook, and Parrish picks up the personal foul for Robert, his second. Danny Roundfield comes back into the game. They call Parrish the Chief. And I think you look at him, he's got that big Chief look. So there's Roundfield, who got a few minutes of rest. He was actually signed by Atlanta as a free agent. Started his career with the Indiana Pacers. And has turned into a genuine superstar. Maybe the best power forward in the league. Wilkins. Wilkins trying to get inside.
Little late whistle there by Darryl Garrison. They've called a foul on Larry Bird with Dominique Wilkins in the act of shooting, so he'll go to the free throw line for 2. So Dominique Wilkins right now is not hitting his outside shot. So he's trying to penetrate and get the ball in closer to the basket, and he's distorting a lot of his shots. That's why he's having a difficult time getting on the board today.
He's 3 out of 3 from the free throw line. Another substitute coming into the game, and that's Wes Matthews, number 1. Diminutive backup point guard. A lot of quickness. Obtained a year ago in a trade with the Washington Bullets.
Got a technical foul on Kevin Lockery. I think he feels that he needs to let the officials know that his guys are getting banged going to the basket, and he just wants to let them know about it.
You know, it is interesting to note how coaches more or less scout officials. You get a line on the official coming in, what you can do, what you can get away with, what you can't, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's almost like scouting an opponent. Certain officials will call certain things. Certain officials will allow a coach to say more things to them. And like you said, you almost have to know who's officiating the game to know what you can get away with and what you can't.
Celtics in the backcourt. 37-27. Their lead, which was 3 points late in the first quarter, back up to 10. Matthews picks up the personal foul. Trying to get by the pick set by Larry Bird. Ainge inside to McHale. Ainge with great quickness. Nice fake on Roundfield. McHale. I'll tell you, he fired him up.
You know, Danny Ainge earlier in the series would have taken that quick jump shot. He took the penetration, found McHale inside. That's a very nice play by Danny Ainge.
39-27, Celtics. Glenn parries it. Basket counts and a foul. Mike Glenn with his first basket.
That's Mike Glenn's strength. Coming off the screen. Tree Rollins set the screen. They called the guy running into the screen and gave the basket to Mike Glenn.
That makes it 39-29. Timeout Boston. We'll be back at the Garden in just a moment. That's not all. We've also got another great fight for you. The WBA junior lightweight champion Roger Mayweather defending his title against George Alvarado. And the international mixed pairs gymnastics. So a great menu for you on CBS Sports Saturday. I've seen Lou Gaines in action. Got to be one of the best divers in the history of the sport.
That's a beautiful sport. You don't really realize how tough that is till you get up sometimes on those platforms to see what those guys are looking down to in that pool.
Trey Rollins missing the free throw. You recall he was fouled by Ainge as Glenn hit the shot just before the timeout. Archibald penetrating to Bird. Quinn Buckner, who has come into the game, puts that one off the side of the board, and Glenn couldn't find it on the rebound. That's frustrating.
Quinn Buckner's really been the only guard in this series for Boston to shoot the ball well. He's 8 for 14 in the series. The other 3 guards shooting 31%. So Quinn Buckner, probably the guy out there you would think would be shooting the poorest percentage from the outside, but he's actually shooting the best for the Celtics.
Well, he got hot near the end of game 1, and it really saved the Celtics as he had 3 baskets from the outside. Buckner, of course, the former Milwaukee Hawk. Little less than 9.5 minutes remaining in the first half. And we've got some interesting things coming up for you at halftime. McHale, clear cross court to Archibald. You talk about seeing the whole court. McHale saw the whole court that time and saw Tiny open. Roundfield from outside. Bird and Wilkins going after the rebound. Loose ball foul called on Wilkins.
Dominique Wilkins is a little frustrated right now. He does not have a basket in the ball game. Danny Roundfield only has 2. Those are the Hawks' 2 big scores. They're going to have to get them off if they expect to win this basketball game.
Celtics' biggest lead was 13. That was a 21-8. They're up by a dozen now, 41-29, and this guy's made a big difference. McHale missing his first shot of the game. Rebound to the Hawks, Trey Rollins. Flying down the court is Matthews. Oh, yes! Great shot. It'll go, and he is fouled.
Wes Matthews with great quickness in the open court. Little crossover dribble to get around Tiny Archibald. Hangs in the air, feels the contact, and miraculously gets the ball up and in the basket. He shoots it right through Kevin McHale's arm. Now he has an opportunity for a 3-point play.
3 big points for the Atlanta Hawks, who needed it. 41-32. Tiny. Still that great quickness in offense. This is the man who, with Kansas City one year, averaged 34 points and 11 assists. Led the NBA in scoring and assists. The only man ever to do it. Harris lost it, but Buckner got it back and then loses it. They say it was off the foot of Buckner.
That was a very good defensive sequence for Atlanta that time. They had Boston standing around, forced a turnover.
So the Hawks working on their second comeback of this ball game. Wilkins having trouble controlling it. 3 seconds. Lane violation against Atlanta. And the Celtics throw it away, and Bill Fitch shakes his head. Turnovers now pretty even. Atlanta turned the ball over quite a bit at the outset. McHale slapping that away, but couldn't control it. Wilkins. How about the arch he put on that one?
That was a tough shot, and Quinn Buckner laying on his back there. Trey Rollins just wiped him out on that rebound.
That shot by Wilkins could have brought rain, which we're having right now outside of the Garden. 41-34. Celtics lead it. They've been ahead from the outset. Buckner trying to drive inside, but can't get by Mike Glenn. And Glenn picks up the personal foul, his first. The 3rd team foul on Atlanta. Boston has already picked up 4 team fouls with only 7:23 left to play in the first half, so the penalty will be a factor. Tiny Archibald. Now, you've had a chance to guard him. What's it like?
Oh, you got to give him a lot of room, but he is so quick out there.
Talk about quick. How about McHale for a big man? 6'10" in his 3rd year in the league. 43-34. Roundfield, who's been fairly quiet offensively, Bird with the rebound. Celtics have done a great job on Roundfield and on Wilkins. Archibald trying to penetrate and get in and get the shot away and draws the foul. Tree Rollins picks up the personal. That is his second.
Tiny with great penetration here. Does a great job of throwing his body in traffic and drawing the foul.
Coming up at halftime, 6 minutes and 52 seconds away, Pat O'Brien with a report on New York's Hubie. And, of course, Hubie Brown, the coach of the Knicks, and an update of the Western Conference semifinal game, Portland against Los Angeles. All that coming up at the half. We're also expecting a visit from Red Auerbach. One of the great names in pro basketball history, general manager of the Celtics for these many years, who is thinking about retiring. Archibald on the line.
That New York-Philly series ought to be a very emotion-packed series. Not a whole lot of love lost between Hubie and Billy Cunningham, and I'm sure there's a lot of emotion going into that one.
Tiny Archibald, a 74% free throw shooter, missing them both. Hawks with the ball. They trail by 9. Macklin inside to Dan Roundfield. Strong move against McHale, but McHale obviously altered the direction of that shot. Nevertheless, the Hawks come up with the rebound. One of the things we're going to talk to Red about is all those coaching changes in the NBA this year. Buckner leading the break. Maxwell with the hook shot. McHale on the follow. And McHale comes up with it. Great hustle. What a player. Archibald. Fake on Matthews. Couldn't get the shot away. Roundfield comes up with it. Wes Matthews. Trying to drive by Buckner. And the foul's going to go against Boston.
His tempo's got to suit Boston. Kevin Lockree's got to be a little concerned. He's got his 2 quick guards on the floor now. Wes Matthews, who's bearing down in the open court at Quinn Buckner, tries to make a pass off after a great crossover dribble. Quinn with a blocking foul.
Second foul on Buckner as Matthews goes to the line. He arrived in Atlanta mid-season of last year for Don Collins from the Washington Bullets. Done a pretty good job as a backup guard.
Well, they've got a smaller, quicker lineup in there right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do a little trapping here defensively. They got Macklin back at small forward with Johnny Davis and Wes Matthews at the guards.
Crowd getting a little nervous now. They want to see the Celtics run off some more points. 43-36.
They are in a trap.
Buckner looking for help. Shot clock inside of 10 seconds. 2. Using the window to effect. Quinn Buckner gets his first basket. Ex-Milwaukee Buck. Be interesting if the Celtics do wind up against Milwaukee. See Buckner go against his old team, and of course Dave Cowens against Boston, although he's sidelined right now with injuries. Roundfield, great fake, found the open lane to the hoop. That's only his 3rd basket. 45-38 Celtics. Archibald into McHale. Tree Rollins trying to stay with McHale. Tiny throws one in from the corner.
Well, the Boston guards are shooting the ball very well from outside today. Buckner's hit, Tiny's hit, so is Danny Ainge and Henderson. They've all shot the ball very well today.
Davis with the turnaround, a little bit short. And here come the Celtics again. Down to McHale. Tree Rollins goaltending. Oh, Lockery can't believe it. I don't know. It looked like he was on his way up. Let's see if we can judge for yourself.
Oh, Tiny with a pass ahead. Tree Rollins had his back to the ball. Kevin McHale goes to the basket. Looked like the ball was below the rim and was pinned on the glass. That's a tough call.
It goes as a basket for Boston to make it 49-38. Davis to Roundfield. Shot clock down to 5 seconds. Tree with a baby hook. Think about Atlanta. They're not giving up, are they? They come surging back every time. Archibald. And the Celtics are playing well. Much better than they were the first 2 games. McHale with a miss. Rollins. Oh, Archibald with a steal. Buckner. Roundfield clears it for Atlanta. Matthews open from the free throw line. that shot.
Now, if you're going to beat the Celtics, you've got to hit those open jump shots because you're not going to get too many of them.
Maxwell, pass off to Bird. Gets Macklin off his feet. McHale. Kevin McHale has come into the ball game in the second quarter, and he has scored 12 points in a matter of 8 minutes. What a guy to have coming off your bench. What a luxury. Rollins with the miss. Here come the Celtics on the fly. Great transition game. McHale with another one.
Kevin McHale is filling the lane on the break so well. That's 2 layups in the last 3 times down the floor for Kevin McHale.
There's the bench scoring. We talked about the advantage in depth that Boston has, and it's certainly paying off here as we get a whistle and a foul called away from the ball.
Wes Matthews is trying to come off a double screen low that time, and Quinn Buckner just held him, would not allow him his penetration. He will go to the free throw line to shoot 2 free throws as they are in the penalty.
That's 3 fouls on Buckner. And Matthews will go to the line. There's the former Milwaukee star, great winner, a real team leader. That's one thing he adds to this Celtic lineup.
You know, a lot of people probably wonder about the trade. Quinn Buckner for Dave Cowens. Bill Fitch said that Quinn Buckner played through the best stretch of basketball that the Celtics had this season. Then he got injured, and they had to make a transition with him out of the ballgame. Now trying to work him back in.
They had a very slow march, you might recall. They were 8-8, which is very bad for the Celtics, and at one point lost 4 in a row. In fact, they got beat by Indiana by 29 points, and Bird took matters into his own hands against the Pacers the next time out and scored 53 to set a club record. And he did it in something like 39 minutes. 3-second lane violation called against the Celtics. No basket. 53-41. Celtics lead it. 2:46 left to play in the first half. Back at the Garden in just a moment. CBS Sports, home of the NBA championship, and more coming up after this one. Second half of the doubleheader. Depending on what part of the country you're in, you'll see the Knicks go against Philadelphia. How about the year that Bernard King has had?
Well, he really carried the New York Knicks through that one stretch with his scoring.
And what about Moses Malone?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how sore his knee really is.
And the second game, Portland and Los Angeles. Portland led by Jim Paxson.
Well, he just did a great job in that Seattle series.
And the Lakers, you talk Lakers, you talk Magic Johnson.
He does it all, rebound, pass, and score.
So lots more NBA action coming up later this afternoon on CBS. This is just the start of our comprehensive coverage of the NBA playoffs on CBS this year. 2:46 left in the half. Boston ahead from the start, up by a dozen right now, 53-41. In a game that's a little higher scoring than Kevin Lockery would like it to be. Hawks with the ball. Dan Roundfield has been held in check by Maxwell. Has done a pretty good job on him. Off to Mike Glenn. They haven't been able to get Glenn loose, who is their best shooter. Been all over him every time he's gotten the ball. Rudy Macklin with the miss. McHale with the rebound, playing it on both ends. What a quarter he's had. Archibald will slow it down for the Celtics. Johnny guarded closely by Johnny Davis. Dominique Wilkins is getting ready to come back in for Atlanta. Bird with a great save. Wow. Ames with the miss. The follow is good by Maxwell.
Well, I tell you what, the play Larry Bird just made is a spectacular play. Saved the basketball from going into the backcourt, and the Boston people love it.
That's what the hand is for Bird, who picked up a ton of floor burns on that one. And that's the type of hustle you expect from Larry Bird. Davis drills one from deep in the corner.
The Celtics do not want Johnny Davis to go baseline on that jump shot. They've got to force him back over the top. When he goes baseline, he's isolated all alone. He will hit that jump shot.
I believe I'll take Bird #1 on my all-hustle team anytime.
He's right there.
Archibald, the Bird in the corner. Got around his man, Macklin. Bird has had a quiet second quarter offensively. Has 13 points. 11 of which came in the opening period. Glenn couldn't get it to fall. Archibald with the dish off to Bird. Again, trying to get around Macklin, and this time Macklin decides to foul him. Take a look at that save of Larry Bird's a moment ago. It would have been an over and back violation otherwise.
Well, it looks like the ball is just no one's around, and all of a sudden Larry Bird just hurls his body. You can see his foot is on the other side of the 10-second line. It's a great play. The Celtic fans now are chanting Larry.
Larry is the chant. Direct them at this man, Larry Bird. We said he was a bird of a rare kind, a true NBA superstar. One of the crown jewels in this league of great athletes. He missed 3 out of the Celtics' last 4 games with a groin problem, but he's all right now. After he hit that 53-point game against Indiana, he followed it up next time out against Atlanta with a 39-point game. Scored 39 points in 35 minutes against the Hawks. That's not bad. Atlanta's only win as Davis trying to get away. 5 seconds of the shot clock. He launched the shot. Maxwell with the rebound. And the pace belongs to the Celtics.
Well, their defensive tenacity right now is forcing Atlanta to be very scattered out there offensively, and they've not taken good shots.
59-43, Celtics with their biggest lead. Bird with a great pass. Ames can't hit the shot from 20. Brownfield with the rebound. Less than 20 seconds to go in the half. Mike Glynn rides in for the layup. 10 seconds left in the first half. Archibald saw the opening off to Bird. Followed by McHale is no good to Wilkins. No basket. Buzzer went off prior to the shot. Well, an exciting first half, although it was virtually all Boston. Celtics with a 14-point cushion at halftime, leading it 59-45. But some spectacular plays coming up at halftime. We've got, among other things, Hubie Brown. Rundown on the Knicks coach. We'll have a live interview with Dr. J. Julius Erving in Philadelphia as his team prepares to go up against the New York Knicks. We'll have a preview of the Portland-LA game. And then we'll be back here in Boston with Red Auerbach, the general manager of the Celtics, to talk about a lot of things. This game, his future plans. So stay with us as the NBA on CBS continues. Welcome back to the Boston Garden. We're at halftime. The Celtics lead the Hawks by 14, and with me is a man who is synonymous with the NBA. 37 years in the league, 32 with the Boston Celtics. Red Auerbach, 11 championships in 13 years, and this week I noticed some people trying to retire you.
Well, it's very premature. I've got to sit down with Harry Mangurian, the owner of the ball club, and we're going to make a decision. There's no rush about this thing because, as people say, it's part of your life. But nevertheless, the traveling back and forth from Washington, my wife gives me a bad time because it's, it's quite a trip.
I mean, it's been 32 years. I would think she would give you a bad time about it. Let me ask you about something else. More coaching changes look to be upcoming in this league than I think I've ever seen. How about yourself?
Well, I've never seen so many. I think when they start doing that, it's panic time. They're not going to get anywhere. Not doing that. Because when you make a change for a new coach, you've got to figure out why do I want to make a change. You know, the guy might have had injuries, he might have had a lot of things which made him have that bad year. Now, if he's not a good coach, sure, you got to get rid of him. But some of these guys are proven coaches, and there's no reason to change because how do they know they're going to get anybody better? It's ridiculous.
I know you're a little hot about the officiating at Friday night's game. How about today? You a little happier?
Well, at least Larry Bird don't have to get a saddle. I mean, they were all over him like a blanket. It was terrible. But today seems to be good. Plus, I feel better. We're a little bit ahead. But I'll tell you how I feel when the game is over.
All right, good enough. Thank you very much, Red Auerbach.
My pleasure.
They may retire this guy, but he's never going to be out of it. No question about that. Halftime here at the Boston Garden. A half of action to go. 14-point lead right now for the Boston Celtics. 59-45. And we'll be back with half number 2 in just a moment. And welcome back to the Boston Garden. Frank Lever along with Doug Collins still at halftime with the Celtics enjoying a 14-point lead. Let's show you some of the highlights of the first half of play. Johnny Davis led Atlanta scoring with 3 points, or rather with 11 points in the first half. Right now, though, you're looking at a Celtic fast break.
Well, that's what the Celtics do best. In the open court, get the ball out and up-tempo the game.
Now, here's Johnny Davis, who we were talking about. This is a three-point play for Davis.
Johnny Davis kept it in the game early with these kind of drives, taking the ball to the basket. He did have 11 points in the first half.
And, of course, Kevin McHale, as we mentioned, had a spectacular second period.
Well, here with his long arms, took the ball to the other side of the basket, used the glass. Beautiful shot by Kevin McHale.
He wound up with 14 points, all of them in the second quarter. And then that tremendous save by Larry Bird. Here's a guy who's a superstar risking his neck to save a over and back violation.
Well, I think this is what playoff basketball is all about. Every loose ball is important to your team, and Larry Bird just went out and got it and got his team 2 points.
As we take a look at the first half statistics, it's virtually all Boston. They're shooting a lot better than they did the first two games.
Well, they got the ball inside, got better production from their inside people. Atlanta did not have good shot selection, as a result, shot poorly.
And in the rebound department, again, Boston.
Well, Boston's going to do that. They're going to be a key defensive rebounding team, get the ball out on the break, run their fast break like no other team in the league other than maybe Philly or Los Angeles.
And Bird with a great first half with 15 points. He had only, one basket in the first half of the Friday night game, so he has really turned it on. And, of course, the whole atmosphere here, the Celtics, unlike Friday night when they looked very flat against Atlanta, you can tell that they're up for it, that this is the game that it's a no-tomorrow situation.
Well, I think they realize that they have not been playing great basketball, Frank, and they're going to have to get it going here. They're just not going to turn on the switch and say, here's Milwaukee, and we're going to beat them.
So 1 half of basketball to go. Do you think the Hawks can come back and do it? It's a tall order against this club.
The Atlanta Hawks are going to have to peck away slowly and surely. They can't come out here and try to make up 14 points in the first 6 minutes, or they'll be down by 24. They've got to do like they did early in the game, Frank, and just continue to whittle away and hopefully get some easy baskets and get back in the ball game.
Boston with the great playoff tradition. They're after their 15th NBA championship. They've been in the playoffs a total of 30 times, including 8 out of the last 10. And, of course, head coach Kevin Lockery of the Atlanta Hawks has had his club in the playoffs each of the last 2 years, but he is fighting an uphill battle. He doesn't have the bench to compete with the Boston Celtics, and he's got to have his team playing their best game, and hopefully Boston isn't playing their best game in order really to have a chance to beat them. Bill Fitch not too happy about being in a mini-series. The first time it's happened to him in Boston the last 3 years. Of course, they won over 60 games, so they haven't had to play in the mini-series. So it's what he calls something like Russian roulette. And a lot of times you can get an inferior team, can sneak up on a club in a best-of-3 series.
You know, I'm not so sure that if Boston survives this mini-series, that it's not the best thing for them in terms of playing it, because they coasted the last month of the season, platooning, as he told us yesterday. He platooned players. They lost that little bit of drive to play Philadelphia down the stretch. And normally it was the last month of the season, it was Philly up a game, Boston up a game, but this year it was not that way.
Now, Boston wins this game. They would go against the Milwaukee Bucks. That series would open on Wednesday, and they've got a very heavy weekend schedule, which probably would work to the Celtics' advantage.
Yes, they would play, if Boston survives, they'll play Wednesday, Friday in Boston, then Sunday afternoon and Monday night. So that would force a 3-game and 4-day series, and I think that would work against the Milwaukee Bucks because of their age and some of the injuries that they've had.
What about the Bucks having like 11 days off to get ready? Is that good? I guess it would be with their injury problems, especially to Collins.
Well, it's given them 3 extra days for Junior Bridgman and Brian Winters, some of these guys that are banged up. But, more so the home team, I think, is important for them to get out early.
Hawks inbound as we start the second half of play. They are down 59-45. That's a lot more points than Kevin Lockery wanted scored in the first half. He feels if the Celtics get it up in the 110, 115, 120-point range, that the Hawks won't be able to stay with it.
There's an offensive foul on Rudy Macklin. Atlanta coming out the first time down the floor, trying to post up Macklin against Ainge, called with a push-off offensive foul.
That is 3 fouls on Rudy Macklin. Celtics opening with the same 5 which started the game. Henderson with a driving hook shot. Gerald Henderson gets his 3rd basket. He said Bird at 15 in the first half, McHale at 14, Maxwell at 11. 3 players in double figures for the Celtics who come up with a steal. Henderson to Bird, 2. And that's not the way that Lockery wanted the Hawks to start the second half.
Well, 2 high percentage shots for the Celtics. There are 2 layups. Now all of a sudden they're looking at an 18-point deficit.
63-45. Boston inside to Dan Roundfield. Roundfield with a quiet first half offensively. We got an offensive foul called against the Hawks underneath. Trey Rollins picks up his third. They really can't afford to get Trey or Dan Roundfield in foul trouble. He is the first Hawk player to have 3 fouls. Buckner has 3 for Boston. Bird, 3-pointer. You think he feels confident right now?
Well, the Celtics are moving the ball, making that 1 extra pass, and shooting wide open jump shots.
A torrid start. The Boston Celtics outscoring Atlanta 7-0 at the start of the third period, leading 66-45. Plus boxing and gymnastics on CBS Sports Saturday. Back to play we go. Hawks with the basketball. Outscored 7-0 here at the start of the third quarter, and in danger now of being blown out of this ball game. Davis working with Henderson to Rudy Macklin. Macklin is not hitting as he was the other night when he really did hurt the Celtics. What's the difference in the Celtic team this afternoon, Doug?
Well, they're just playing with fire in their eyes. They're moving the ball, taking that extra pass, and rebounding and getting the ball out and running with it.
They're really moving the ball around well, playing with a great deal of confidence. Henderson with the fake. Got by Davis, but couldn't hit the shot. Maxwell saves it. Something the Celtics do so well. Operate on those offensive boards. If they do have a weakness, this ball club, their guard defense is a little suspect.
Yeah, so when they get into a series, they have to play maybe a Philadelphia or someone. They're going to have somebody to be able to play an Andrew Toney.
Parrish with the hook. Trey Rollins grabs the rebound. 21-point lead, the biggest for the Celtics. Wilkins, who has been ineffective offensively, traveled.
He had 2 points in that first half. He's frustrated. He's not taking the shot when he has it, double pumping and getting called for the traveling violations.
Front line play has really hurt the Hawks. Roundfield just 6 points in the first half. Wilkins just 1 basket and 4 free throws. And of course they don't get that much offense normally out of Rollins, but he had 8 points before intermission. Parrish with the shot. Macklin brings it down. Former LSU star, number 3 draft choice a year ago. Rudy Macklin pops one through. Oh, these Celtic fans are up for it. They take great offense even when Atlanta scores.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't want him to score at all.
Bird on top, 20-footer. Davis trying to get around Henderson, and Henderson fouled him. That is 3 fouls on Gerald Henderson, so Henderson and Buckner both have 3 personal fouls for the Boston Celtics.
You know, Danny Ainge still struggled offensively in that first half, only 1 for 6, and he hit his first shot, a 3-pointer to get the game started.
66-47, Boston. Inside to Roundfield, strong move to the hole, but it's ripped out of his hands. It'll be Atlanta's ball.
Danny Ainge just punched Tree Rollins in the stomach off a screen that time. Tree not real happy.
When Tree took after your old friend Lionel Hollins last year. And Lionel wound up with a busted digit. Macklin throws it away. Kevin Lockery very unhappy at this point. Celtics give it back, however. You hate to be in Atlanta shoes with their type of offense, trying to make up a 19-point deficit on Boston. Davis. Great shot. Johnny Davis with his 6th hoop. He's been averaging almost 17 points as a starter. Steal by Atlanta. Tree Rollins trying to go in for the stuff. Parrish grabbed him on the arm.
Tree Rollins should have passed that ball ahead to Johnny Davis on that steal.
To see Parrish hook him on the arm.
Johnny Davis wide open. Tree kept the ball. Now he's going to have to make 2 free throws.
7:57 left in the third period. 66-49 Celtics. At the conclusion of today's game, and each of our NBA playoff telecasts will be selecting the Miller Most Valuable Player of the Game. Doug Collins and I will make that selection, and in conjunction with this award, Miller will present a check for $1,000 to the Special Olympics in his name. Tree Rollins on the line for the Atlanta Hawks. Tree now 1 out of 2 from the stripe. Averaged 4.29 blocks. That's almost a block better than anybody else in the NBA. Bird comes up with another rebound. You know, Bird is amazing. He is not fast. He really doesn't jump that well.
No,
and yet he does it all.
Well, he keeps you off balance all the time.
Henderson buries one from outside. Celtics are cooking here in the third quarter. 68-50. Johnny Davis puts a move on Henderson. Bird there again to reject it.
See, Larry Bird is a master of keeping you off balance, Frank. As you were talking a while ago, you're always, you know, at odds when you're playing against him. You just never know if he's going to shoot or pass the ball.
Wilkins walked again. You know, he is double pumping just about every time now. And that's got to be the fact that Bird has been just all over it.
Well, he's also trying to penetrate the defense, and he's going in there with Parrish and McHale and Maxwell and all these people who can all block shots. And as a result, you try to use that pump fake. And he's been called for traveling at least 3 times in today's ball game.
18-point lead for the Celtics. Bird driving on Wilkins, off to Parrish. Loose ball foul. It will go against Danny Ainge. That is the 3rd foul on Ainge. He becomes the 3rd guard to pick up 3 personal fouls. Rudy Macklin comes back into the game, number 40 for the Atlanta Hawks, as the Hawks bring it down court. Lockery's team had to win 18 of the last 28 games just to get into the playoffs. They qualified on the next to last day, and they had to beat Milwaukee to do it. Brownfield turns it over. Ball simply slipped out of his hands.
Look for trapping defenses here. They've got their smaller, quick lineup in. They've got to up-tempo and try to get some easy baskets.
Bird over the pick by Parrish. Parrish hustled back after making that pick and got underneath to grab the rebound. They got the first 24 on the shot clock. Parrish going inside, and Rollins round field. Talk about the hand. 68-50. That's the time left in the third quarter here at the Boston Garden. This is the 3rd and deciding game of this mini-series. The winner to go on to beat Milwaukee. Rollins takes out the frustration on the basket. Here we go. Danny Ainge. Oh, a free-for-all. Coaches, officials all over the floor trying to pull them apart. It's still going on. We've got everybody on the floor involved. I thought they said the hockey game wasn't until tonight.
Well, Danny Ainge got the worst net. He's got Dan Roundfield and Tree Rollins on top of him right now. They can't get him off. Tree Rollins has got him in a headlock, but we saw that coming a while ago when Danny Ainge and Tree Rollins were getting into it. Well, you don't like to see this because, you know what? Somebody get hurt in something like this and miss the playoffs. This is not a good scene at all.
Let's see how it started. It looked like Ainge tackled Rollins, but they're still taunting each other here. This may not be finished yet. Wilkins wants a piece of somebody. And the trainer, Joe O'Toole, pulling Wilkins back to the bench.
Frank, one thing I've always learned, never try to break up a guy fighting, especially big men. I did it 5 years ago with Darryl Dawkins. He punched me and split my eye open in the Portland series. If those big guys are going to go at it, you get out of the way because there's nothing you're going to do.
Ainge is leaving. Whether or not it's by injury or whether it's because he's been asked to leave remains to be seen.
I would be very surprised if Tree Rollins was not ejected along with Danny Ainge.
Well, Ainge looked like he tackled Collins. Let's take a look at it again. Here's how it started. The Roundfield flying down the floor. Then look at the elbow there on Ainge that was thrown by Tree Rollins. And now Ainge will tackle Rollins. Watch this.
Well, he was smart to go in low because Tree was going to throw a haymaker at him there. He had to get him down. Danny Ainge, baseball, basketball, looks like a nice open field tackle there also, Frank. Here's where you get hurt, though. Larry Bird, you see Larry Bird's shoulder like that?
Take a look at it, another angle. This is a pretty flagrant elbow he threw at Ainge.
He's retaliating for what happened a while ago. He just popped him right in the head. And Danny Ainge, a vicious competitor, as is Tree Rollins. You know, these are things that happen in playoffs. And Frank, we talked about it the other day. The same thing happened in the Philly series last year. Tree Rollins and Lionel Hollins. Lionel broke his hand and ended up missing the majority of the playoffs. This is one thing you don't want to happen.
Watch the elbow. Watch Rollins' elbow right there. The left hand right to the head of Ainge. And Ainge, infuriated, comes back and tackles him.
You know, as a smaller player, you've got to stand your ground against a big person.
The interesting thing is that Ainge has left the floor and Rollins is still out there.
I don't understand that at all.
Well, the officials, as they say so many times, you see the second shot.
Yeah,
retaliation.
Normally when two guys go, though, it takes two. And normally when two guys go at it like that, you've got to let them both go. So, but I'm not going to try to make a judgment on that. It's just amazing.
Kevin Lockery did everything he could to get his players out of there as you look at Bill Fitch. And we'll take a look at what Kevin did. Now watch Lockery as he gets into this thing and tries to pull his players out of there. There's Kevin on the right of his screen. Well, he's trying to pull McHale out of there right now. He got a hold of McHale's jersey. He's trying to get him out of there.
And Kevin's a fiery guy. You don't want to mess with him. He's got a temper, and he's going to fight to the end with his team.
Darrell Garrettson, who of course is the head of the NBA officials, and one of the officials explaining now what the ruling is to both of the coaches involved. Bill Fitch on the left and Kevin Lockery on the right. Now the first report we get is that Ainge and Mike Glenn have been ejected. Now Glenn did not figure, at least in the beginning of that.
I think what happened was that after they separated Ainge from Rollins, that he and Glenn got into it a little later on. I'm not really sure, but that's the only thing that could possibly have happened.
Well, Tree is still out there, so you'd have to think that they missed that the first shot, the elbow that he threw that really got Ainge infuriated.
I tell you, if anybody ever wants to say, is there any intensity in these playoffs, you can see it right now.
Okay. All right, the voice that you may have heard in the background was Darrell Garrettson, who just leaned over to us and confirmed that Ainge and Glenn have been ejected. Again, another look at the replay, and watch Danny Ainge on this one. Ainge, number 44, right center of your screen. He's waiting down court. He saw Rollins coming, didn't he?
Now, I think it was just a situation where he was going to protect himself. He saw Tree come flying at him.
Again, see the same thing. Ainge was not backing off.
They both have been going at it, and I said a while ago previously that Ainge had punched Tree in the stomach.
There's Glenn leaving now. So as Darrell Garrettson told us, Glenn is out, and Ainge has been ejected from the game. Well, it keeps things interesting, doesn't it?
I'm telling you, in the playoffs, tempers flare, you know, the adrenaline is pumping. You go for every little move out on the court. I mean, there's a lot of money and prestige at stake right now for both of these teams.
We're going to try to get this game started again. Where does that rank among fights that you've seen or participated in?
Well, as I said a while ago, I learned from experience, you don't break up a fight between two big people. Daryl Dawkins punched me in the Portland series, swinging at Bobby Gross and split my eye open.
Back to play we go. In case you've forgotten, the Celtics lead it 68-52. 6 minutes left to play in the third quarter. Parrish jump shooting over Tree Rollins, short. And Roundfield comes up with it. Crowd settling back in their seats a little bit. That got them fired up, quite obviously. Johnny Davis on the drive. Bird with the rebound. Great outlet. Down court to Parrish. Little 10-footer. Maxwell with the tip. Maxwell went to the locker room at halftime and took about 4 stitches over his eye. 18-point lead for the Celtics, 70-52. Henderson trying to prevent Davis from driving, picks up the foul, and Gerald Henderson has picked up his 4th.
I think what you're going to see right now, I think you're going to see the officials take control of this game right now and let them know that there's not going to be any more of this breaking out. They're going to start calling some fouls a little closer.
Atlanta will inbound. Brief official timeout. Here's Darrell Garrettson, ties his shoelace. Darrell will keep it under control. He's a good one to have around in a situation like this. Brownfield. Frustrating day for the power forward from Atlanta. Parrish comes down with it. Henderson to Bird. Boy, they move it well, don't they? They move it so well.
They're making that one extra pass today. As a result, they're getting 10 to 12-foot wide-open jump shots as opposed to shooting with a man running at you and his hand in his face.
Atlanta can't keep up with it. They are moving the ball so well. 72-52. Macklin trying to drive, pull up, jumper over Maxwell. And Parrish there to grab another one off the window. Buckner, down court, Maxwell. Traveling. Fox would like to slow it down, but they can't slow it down too much because they're too far behind. Henderson with a fine steal, but couldn't keep it in bounds.
This crowd is fired up for sure now. The Celtics are scrambling. They're getting every loose ball. This is Boston basketball right here. Frustrate you, force you to take bad shots, and then get the ball out and run.
Where does the Garden rate on your toughest places to play, in your opinion?
I think this place and Portland are two very difficult places. The fans are on top of you. It's a very quiet, it's a very quaint building in terms of size.
Facing the crowd, NBA Commissioner Lawrence O'Brien. Well, he's got to be a little concerned, and I'm sure there'll be a few fines forthcoming. Of course, you get an automatic if you're ejected.
You know, Frank, the thing that always scares me in those fights is guys diving on the pile and getting injured. You know, Larry Bird's shoulder was in a very, very, precarious position.
Well, we've got an official timeout, and right now we're waiting for a substitute to come into the game, who is Matthews.
Also bringing Randy Smith into the ball game here for Johnny Davis. So they're going to go with Randy Smith and Wes Matthews in the backcourt, two speedsters.
Well, Smith is a guy who can shoot the lights out when he gets going. He is the Iron Man of the NBA. Played in 917 consecutive games until earlier this year. Brownfield with the turnaround jumper. That gives him only 8 points. 72-54. Parrish. Tell me how you block that.
Well, he's got that square-up move. He turns his right shoulder, turns around and shoots that jump shot. He gives him a great dimension at center, being able to hit that outside shot.
Brownfield has found the range. Atlanta power forward with 2 in a row. Bird. A bit too much on that one. 2 players go down hard. Maxwell and McMillan. Atlanta break. Brownfield tried to loop it in. Wouldn't go. Parrish comes up with a rebound. Pace much too fast for Atlanta. Henderson missing. Maxwell with the follow. It is rough underneath there. A whistle and a loose ball foul. Rollins and McMillan really hammering Cedric Maxwell. Maxwell comes up with a smile.
Well, it's the Celtics style of basketball. They're going at it on the offensive boards, diving on the floor for loose balls.
This is sudden death, of course. Matthews on the drive. For the loser, the season is over. 74-58. 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Parrish putting the move on Rollins, and Rollins will pick up the foul. And for Tree, that is 4.
Well, the winner of this series is going to advance and play Milwaukee, but this series is going to take something out of them. Boston is expending an awful lot of energy today, and it's going to tell, especially if they go deep into the playoffs.
Buckner, of course, has come back into the game. I'm sure you've noticed, number 28. Henderson, nice fake. Got Smith out of position. Couldn't convert. Buckner saves it. Quinn Buckner, all Big Ten selection at Indiana in both football and basketball. And, of course, like yourself, a member of one of our Olympic teams. Henderson open, 20 feet. Parrish comes up with it. Brownfield can't hold it. I am glad I'm not underneath that basket.
This is an amazingly intense physical game.
This is war. Timeout called by Boston. 74-58 Celtics. And this, keep in mind, is just the start of the NBA playoffs. More action later this afternoon. The Knicks and the 76ers from the Spectrum. You'll see the great Bernard King in action. And Moses Malone, his knee appears to be well, and he is ready to go. Or, depending on where you live, it'll be the Portland Trailblazers featuring Jim Paxson at a great night. Friday night against Seattle, against the Lakers, and Magic Johnson, who have had the week off. They're this intense here at the start of the playoffs. Hard to believe what it's going to be when you get down to the end. Randy Smith, he can still do it. Great outside shooter, former All-Star with Buffalo. You know, in terms of what's happened here and the fight and everything else, are they letting the players get away with too much? Are they asking for more?
They got to be very careful because there's a lot of contact, and guys will go at it again if they let them.
Maxwell answers with a hook shot. 15 for Maxwell. Matthews lost control of it, walked. 16-point lead for the Celtics. Neither team has shot particularly well here in the third quarter. Atlanta with 40%, 6 out of 15. At Boston, only 32%, 7 out of 22. That's the time remaining in quarter number 3. Tom McMillan called on the shove. Wasn't nearly as flagrant as some of those earlier fouls. McMillan picks up his third. Tiny Archibald comes back into the game, and Henderson comes out. Nothing like the luxury of depth.
Well, that's one thing the Celtics have. You know, they can run in. McHale with the flexibility, too. He can come in and play center for Parrish, or he can play forward as well.
Or Bird can play guard.
That's absolutely right.
Buckner is open. Parrish comes up with it. Once again a save and a fresh 24 on the clock for the Boston Celtics as we hit the 1 minute and 10-second mark in the third quarter. Tiny Archibald inside to Maxwell. Archibald, three-pointer. McMillan grabs the rebound. Padding his way down the floor. 76-60. Boston, 45 seconds in the quarter. Rollins. Monster stuff by Tree Rollins.
Tree Rollins have a big offensive game for the Atlanta Hawks. You're really making up a lot of the loss from Dominique Wilkins not scoring today.
Or Roundfield, really, for that matter, way below his average. Parrish from 15. Loose ball foul and a good acting job by Cedric Maxwell. Randy Smith committed the foul, and then Maxwell fluttered backwards.
Randy Smith really did a nice job checking him out there, and as you said, Cedric knew he couldn't get the rebound, fell backwards. It's going to be at the free throw line. That's a big play right there, Frank. They could have cut the lead here with possession of the ball here to maybe 12 points. Now they've got an opportunity, Boston, to push it back up to 16.
That is the 5th foul on Atlanta, so Celtics with the penalty. Maxwell is 5 out of 5 from the line.
One, Mike.
29 seconds left in the quarter. Again, a 16-point advantage. It has been as big as 21. Randy Smith missing from 22 feet. McMillan with the miss. Maxwell with the outlet. 5 seconds. Tiny Archibald missed the layup as the buzzer sounds, ending the third quarter. Wild. At the end of 3, it's 78-62 Boston. Will return to the Boston Garden after this word from your local station.
The NBA on CBS, sponsored by Lowenbrau. When it's time for the taste of a truly great beer, let it be Lowenbrau. GMC, trucks are what we're all about. And by Delta Faucet. When they're on, they're on. When they're off, they're off.
Frank Lever with Doug Collins. Welcome back to the Boston Garden. Ready to start the final period. 78-62 the score. We are checking between quarters on the injury report, and we've been informed that Danny Ainge has what has been described as a human bite on his right middle finger, which required 5 stitches. And it happened somewhere in that brawl a few moments ago, midway in the third period. I wonder what other kind of bite they would be talking about in contrast to a human bite. You're watching it all on CBS, home of the NBA championship. Third and deciding game of this miniseries, and it's been all Boston so far. Celtics, as you can see, do very well when they're up at the end of 3. So the Hawks have their work cut out for them. Going to the trap, looks like.
They're going to try to create some turnovers. They got their quicker guards in there right now.
Buckner starts it off with a basket. You recall in the third quarter, Boston started with a 7-0 surge.
Dominique Wilkins appears to be limping out there on the floor. I don't know if he's injured early in the game, but he didn't play at all in that third period.
Could have happened during the fight, too, because he got right in the middle of that. Here's Roundfield in the drive. Dominique has been limping a little bit. Why, we don't know, but I guess they figure he's got all summer to rest.
Yeah, now's not a time to be worried about an injury. You got to let it all hang out right now.
Could be the last quarter of the year for the Atlanta Hawks, who have played surprisingly well in this mini-series, despite being big underdogs. Steal by the Hawks. Wes Matthews trying to get the pass off to Randy Smith. Fouled as he did so by Tiny Archibald.
That was a very smart play by Tiny Archibald right there. It would have been a layup for Johnny Davis in that situation, or excuse me, Randy Smith, but he reached in and got the foul. Now they're going to have to take the ball out of bounds as Rudy Macklin checks into the ball game, replacing Dominique Wilkins, who obviously is hurting.
Roundfield will inbound. We're early in the final period, 1 minute deep, 80-62 Celtics, who would move on to meet the Milwaukee Bucks in a series that would get underway Wednesday night here at the Boston Garden. Ray Rollins short with the jumper. The Celtics, in addition to everything else, have managed to control the backboards pretty well in the second half. Archibald, long time, great playmaker. Where he came back from that Achilles tendon injury. Had a great career. Buckner with the miss. McHale is back in there. He misses. Jump ball. Macklin will jump it with Parrish.
Frank, you see the flexibility now of the Celtics. They've taken Larry Bird out of the ball game. The front line they have in there are now Maxwell, McHale, Parrish, all very good inside. They come back in with Bird, rest Maxwell, and they just have great flexibility with those 4 people on their front line.
Johnny Davis coming back into the game for the Atlanta Hawks. Parrish easily controlling the tip to Buckner. Celtics trying to use more of that clock now. Tiny open, drills it. Archibald with his third basket. 82-62, 20-point lead. Randy Smith with the pull-up jumper draws a foul as Larry Bird comes back into the lineup.
Robert Parrish got hurt in that last sequence. It looked like he got kneed. So now you're going to see Bird come into the ball game, Parrish go out of the ball game, and now they'll move McHale to center. Again, not to dwell on the point, but that's the flexibility that you have with Kevin McHale.
Ray Melchiori, the Celtics' longtime trainer, looking him over, and of course Bill Fitch, very concerned about his big man. A lot of injury problems affecting a lot of the teams in the playoffs. This 82-game grind takes its toll. Smith was signed as a free agent, played with the Clippers earlier this year, but he went from 1972 to 1983 without missing a game.
The incredible thing about that is he plays a very, quick, fast type of game, does a lot of cutting. You would think he would get some form of injury.
Bird walked. So Bird with a rare mistake, and we've got a timeout. 9:54 left to play in the game. Celtics 82-64. This, of course, is the first of 2 NBA games on CBS this afternoon. For a report on Game 2, let's go to Dick Stockton in Philadelphia.
All right, Frank, the New York Knicks are a hot team indeed. They're minutes away from a rugged assignment against Philadelphia. This is Hubie Brown in the New York dressing room giving last-minute instructions. They're going against the 76ers with Julius Erving, Moses Malone, Andrew Toney flying high and looking for a world championship. And that is the setting as we await Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, the Knicks and the 76ers. Right now, let's go out west to find out what's happening in Los Angeles with Jim Kelly.
Thank you, Dick Stockton. The Forum here in Los Angeles filling up as the Lakers about to open up defense of their NBA championship. They've won it all 2 of the last 3 seasons. They'll do battle against the upstart Portland Trailblazers, who swept the Seattle Supersonics 2 straight. Let's go back to Boston and Frank Gleber.
Robert Parrish on the sidelines. Ice pack on his left knee, which was hurt a little bit earlier. We go back to play. Hawks have the ball, 82-64. You know, mentioning Hubie Brown there, it's an interesting story. They've done well. Smith trying for the three-pointer, fouled by Buckner, and yet Hubie will not go down as one of the most popular coaches in the league with his players, and the same thing really for Bill Fitch of the Celtics.
You know, it's very tough to be popular as a coach because, you know, you've got so many players you're trying to keep happy. Everybody wants to play, and it's a very, very difficult thing. The end result in this business is winning. Come on, Randy.
Look at the bottom line of Fitch, and he's done very well. 3 years, over 60 wins. Smith, 3 out of 3. Still with a perfect mark at the free throw line. 82-66. Probably last chance here for a run for the Atlanta Hawks to try to get something going. 9 minutes to go in the ball game. Maxwell rejected by Rollins. Davis down quickly off to Roundfield, driving on Bird. Loose ball picked up by Tiny Archibald. That's tough luck there.
Yeah, he's had a lot of good shots today, frankly. For Dan Roundfield, he's had a lot of tough luck.
And talking about the inability of the Boston guards to shoot the ball, Fitch hasn't been unhappy with the shots they've been getting in this series.
No, those are excellent shots. They've just not been able to knock them down.
But they've done a much better job today, quite obviously. McHale. Fadeaway jumper doesn't go. Roundfield with the rebound. Boy, Lockery is racing up and down the floor with his team right now, trying to spur him on. Smith can't hit, and Rollins with a backboard. Shaking stuff.
This is the best game I've seen True Rollins play offensively. He's done a whale of a job on both boards, blocking shots and scoring today.
13 for the Tree. 82-68. Bird trying to wheel around and get away from Rudy Macklin, and Macklin fouled him. That's 4 on Macklin. It's only the first team foul on Atlanta here in the final period. Boston has already committed 3. McHale outside here, talking to Red Auerbach at halftime when he was negotiating with McHale before his rookie year. He's talking about going to Italy. Bird with the miss and no foul call. And they say that the Hawks stepped out of bounds. It'll be Boston's ball. Lockery did a complete 360 on the sideline there. Complete spin in the air.
Tree Rollins lost the handle on the ball. He went to save it, and his foot is on the line. That was a very good call by Paul Mahalik, the official.
Lockery couldn't believe it. That would have been a very, very big turnover. As I said, when Red was negotiating with Kevin McHale, he came up with his classic line, "Let him eat spaghetti." Talking about him going to Italy. Well, he didn't, and I'm sure Red's happy. Bird! When you need one, who do you go to? 22 points for Larry Bird. Rollins over McHale. You're right, he's playing a fine offensive game.
Well, you can't let him catch the ball in the low post like that. He's got that jump hook, and he'll swing in there, and he's 7 feet tall. You can't stop him when he gets the ball there.
Approaching the 7.5-minute mark in the game. 14-point lead. Archibald open. Can't get it to go. McHale can't get the rebound, and it comes down to Macklin. Hawks putting a run together here. Macklin on the drive. Can't get it to go. Celtics running down the floor. Maxwell slows it down, trying to go alley-oop to McHale. Bad pass.
That's not a good play right now. When you've got the lead, 14 points like that, pull the ball out, use some of the clock, execute, and then get a good shot at the basket.
22nd timeout called by Kevin Lockery. Fitch not particularly happy with that shot. Bill, of course, coached at Cleveland before coming to the Boston Celtics. He's one of 7 coaches in the history of the NBA to rack up over 500 victories. Used to be a great man with the one-liners when he was with the Cavaliers. Now he's not quite as funny anymore, but he sure wins a lot more.
Well, you know, when he was coach with Cleveland, to start out, they had just a miserable team, and I think that, you know, he used those one-liners probably to relieve a lot of frustration. Then he had a very good team in Cleveland, did very well, came over to Boston, and when you have a team like Boston and you're expected to win, there's not a whole lot of time for comedy in this league.
And this obviously is a pressure situation. The winner is through for the year, and Boston isn't home yet. Atlanta pecking away. They haven't been able to catch the Celtics, but you got to figure this is a do-or-die run here. Davis trying to penetrate. Offensive foul. Big break for the Celtics. Johnny Davis picks up his second. 14-point advantage at 84-70 for Boston. NBA champions 2 years ago. Beaten by Philadelphia in the final game of the Eastern Series last year. Buckner. (86-70) Boston. Loose ball, foul underneath. It will go against Macklin.
Randy Smith took a tough shot there in traffic, and Larry Bird did a nice job. Boxed off the boards. Macklin going to the boards. Loose ball foul.
Celtics want a time with 6:30 left to play in the game and a 16-point lead. Fierce intensity in this ball game so far, despite the fact the Celtics lead by 16. Atlanta has been battling every step of the way. 6.5 minutes left to play, and the Celtics will inbound. Boy, there is a term, the playoff intensity, they call it, and you have to see it really to believe it. Well, it's a lot different than the regular season.
Yes, Boston needed this kind of game, but they don't need the injuries.
Bird. Larry Bird has 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists at this point. Of course, you're going into a series now with Milwaukee, assuming they win, and Ainge's injury on his shooting hand has got to bother him.
That could be a factor, and also Robert Parrish's knee.
Of course, we don't know how bad that is. Smith missing. They put Randy Smith in to try to generate some instant offense, and thus far he hasn't been able to hit that many baskets. Here's Wilkins coming back.
Well, Atlanta's total perimeter right now. Every shot they've got is coming from the perimeter, and they're not going to beat Boston like that.
Macklin will go out, and the reminder, we'll be selecting the Miller Most Valuable Player at the conclusion of the game. So stay with us for that. Could be this man, Larry Bird. Bird has got another year left on his contract. After next season, he is up for bid. Buckner with the miss. Buckner couldn't believe that call. Quinn Buckner has just fouled out of the ballgame. Listen to the hand.
Quinn has played a very important factor in this series. He helped them win game 1 with his outside shooting. 3 baskets down the stretch. He's done a very, very good job for the Celtic team.
It's another Red Auerbach find, really. He got Buckner for a player he didn't have in Dave Cowens. Take a look at the foul here. We've had a lot worse in this ball game. Lane violation against the Atlanta Hawks. 3 seconds in the lane. And the Hawks turn it over, and it's beginning to look dim for Kevin Lockery's team. 88-70 Boston with 5:15 to go, and Boston has dominated the backboards, particularly on offense.
Those are second shots, and that's how you get those easy layups and fouls inside.
Tiny Archibald. ball foul will go against Larry Bird. Bird has not fouled out of a game this year. That's only his second. You think superstars get preferential treatment?
I don't like to say preferential treatment, but I think a lot of times they'll maybe get a few calls because of the things they've established in this league, some of the things they've been able to do. But we've seen twice in this series, Frank, where Larry Bird has pump faked, got his man off his feet, got in contact, and the other night it was a shot in Atlanta at the end of the game that went for an air ball. Atlanta came down and got a dunk and iced the ball game. There was no foul called.
Rollins only 1 out of 4 from the free throw line, though he has 15 points. He's averaged only 7.8 on the year. So he's way above that, just about double his season average. A little bit under 5 minutes to go. And Boston in charge. Looks like the Celtics have asserted their superiority once again. Tremendous home court advantage here, which you worked for all year. Beyond Wilkins. Wilkins nearly took Maxwell's hand off. Tree Rollins got a chuckle out of it. Great pass from Bird inside to McHale, who couldn't convert. Roundfield short with the three-pointer, and Bird is there for the rebound. Man is simply everywhere. Get into a tight situation. Bird wants the ball.
Well, he's such a relentless player. You know, he just never gives up. If he wants a rebound, he goes after it. Fadeaway jump shot. That's an unbelievable shot.
Just your routine 20-foot fadeaway jumper.
When he gets it going, you know, he's one of the few guys in the league that you can't really stop one-on-one.
26 now for Bird. 90-71. Wilkins is fouled by Bird. So that's 3.
Larry Bird here called for the foul on the reach-in play. Dominique Wilkins trying to post him up, catches the basketball, swings in, and Larry across the wrist fouled Dominique, and he'll go to the foul line.
The Hawks have been unable to slow the tempo the way they would have liked to. Even though Boston won't get 115 or 120 points. Wilkins on the line. Third man picked in the NBA draft by Utah. And then, of course, traded to Atlanta just before the start of the season. And Kevin Lockery will tell you that Wilkins is going to be a great player. And one big reason is his attitude. He's very, very coachable. Bird saw McHale, and McHale is rejected by Rollins. McHale going to get it back one way or another. He wanted goaltending. Didn't get it.
That's why Atlanta's leading the league in block shots. The last 3 shots that Kevin McHale has taken, he's had them all 3 thrown right back at him.
Tree Rollins is moving in the lane to get position, and he steamrolled Henderson. So the Tree picks up foul number 5. 3:20 left. 90-73 Boston. Maxwell. Rollins underneath. That's it for him. Rollins fouls out. Rollins will not win any popularity contest here this afternoon because of that confrontation with Ainge.
Cedric Maxwell, strong drive here underneath. He sees Tree coming over, so he sort of takes the ball to the other side of the basket. Had no prayer of making that shot. All he wanted to do was draw the foul, which he did.
Well, Kevin Lockery told us he couldn't afford to lose Rollins, but at this point, I think it's really doesn't mean that much. I think it's pretty well gone for Atlanta.
Tree Rollins played a magnificent game today, Frank. He was all over the floor, blocking shots, scoring. He really gave them a super effort today.
Maxwell on the line. Converts a pair. 92-73. Keep in mind, doubleheader action upcoming. either New York and Philadelphia or Los Angeles at Portland, depending on which part of the country you're located in. Boston with an 11 rebound edge at 44-33. Davis drills one. Henderson. How's that for a transition game?
Well, that's the thing about Boston. You relax just a second. Johnny Davis scored, and Henderson beat him down the floor for an easy layup.
Maxwell. Again, Henderson. Back to Maxwell. McHale with the foul. I believe they smell it. Davis on the three-point try. Fans love it. They're on their feet here at the Boston Garden. Next stop, Milwaukee. 96-75. Bird. Maxwell saves it again, time and time again. The second opportunity. Celtics time. Standing ovation for the Boston Celtics. With a minute 59 left to play, the Celtics are home free, 96-75. Great day for NBA playoff action, and we're going to play two. You've seen virtually all of one. Coming up, though, the Knicks and the 76ers, or the Trailblazers and the Lakers. Such stars as Bernard King, Moses Malone, Jim Paxson, and Magic Johnson. That's all yet to come this afternoon on CBS. Why the timeout by Bill Fitch, Collins?
He wanted to get his regulars out of the ball game. With 2 minutes to go, you do not want to get a player injured with a 21-point lead. So he put subs in the game, give him a chance to play and get his regulars out for injury.
Well, you've got Roby in there. You've got M.L. Carr, who hasn't played at all in this series. Henderson is still in there. Scott Wedman is in. And Bradley, who hasn't played in the series.
A 24 shot clock violation there, 24-second shot clock.
There it is, set back to the 24-second mark. First time that buzzer has gone off this afternoon. That's the time remaining in the basketball game, and Boston, with a comfortable cushion here, will win this series 2-1. And again, will open against Milwaukee Wednesday. They'll play Milwaukee Wednesday and Friday in this building, and then move to Milwaukee for games next Sunday and Monday. And, of course, if it gets down to a seventh and deciding game, it would be 2 weeks from today. Right back here in Boston. So they've got the home court advantage in that one. They're still battling underneath. Keith Edmondson, who is the #1 draft pick of the Hawks, number 11, tried to keep that tip alive, but couldn't. Here come the Celtics. Surprised Milwaukee didn't have anybody here scouting today?
Yes, I was, because, you can pick up a lot of things at a ball game like this. You can, the calls that coaches will make, the different things that they will call out on the floor that you can't see on tape.
Well, the season is over for the Atlanta Hawks, and obviously they know it's coming. Long ride back to Atlanta as Matthews goes in for the virtually uncontested layup.
You got to give them a lot of credit, though, Frank. A lot of people felt that Atlanta, all it was a tune-up for the Milwaukee Bucks. And they gave Boston every little bit of struggle that they wanted.
And they could have won the 2 ball games, really. There's one of the better pure shooters in the NBA, Scott Wedman, former starter at Cleveland, who they picked up in a trade. Keith Edmondson answers, the rookie from Purdue, who was the #1 draft pick. 30 seconds left. 98-79. Roby sending it back outside to M.L. Carr. Carr's had some injury problems late in the season. M.L. is one of the gabbier guys, I guess you'd say, in the league. Isn't he, when he's out on the floor?
Yeah, M.L.'s a cheerleader. He also tries to agitate you a little bit, try to get you off your game. He'll bump you and talk to you and do anything he can to try to knock you off stride.
4 seconds, 3 seconds on the shot clock. Carr's not even looking at the shot clock. Didn't see it, and it goes off. There's the noise is so much in here that you can't hear yourself think. 10 seconds to go. Hawks inbounding for the final time this season. Matthews, 3-point try. That will do it. 78-79. The Boston Celtics win the miniseries 2-1.
And tonight it is the Celtics and the Bucks as they begin the Eastern Conference semifinals here at Boston Garden. Games tonight and Friday, then games 3 and 4 shift over to Milwaukee on Sunday and next Monday. Well, the first question, of course, is the condition of Danny Ainge, the bitten finger. Can he play? Will he be effective?
Well, right now it's still, and we're right to game time. We're going to wait and see what type of protection we can put on it, and I still think it's doubtful, but he was much better this morning in shoot around, but it's based on what we can do for that finger, what we can do for the injury.
It has got to hamper his shooting incredibly.
Well, that's what I mean, what we can do for it. In other words, protect the injury and still have some type of touch. And all the kidding's over now. We've been kidding, well, there's one thing, you can't hurt your shooting, Danny, but he's a very good shooter, and it does have an effect on it.
Okay, so Rocky Ainge may not be able to play in this ball game, and as you can see, the videotape showing the altercation between Ainge and Tree Rollins.
In any event, in this series, the Celtics have gone to the line more often than Milwaukee, which is a good sign. We know we've had this problem throughout the year. We don't occasionally take the ball to the basket as often as we should, and as a result, we get into the jump shooting pattern, and we don't get to the line as often as we would like to. But in this series, I think because we get an up-tempo game, the teams are going to think they're looking in the mirror because they both play very similarly. They both...
Danny Ainge is starting.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think the Celtics need an emotional lift tonight, but if they do, this certainly should provide it.
And they're giving him a standing O. Gerald Henderson raises his hand as if he is a championship boxer, and now he walks away from Ainge and leaves him there all by himself.
Oh, you mean guy.
I'll tell you, I admired Danny's courage the other night and Sunday afternoon in just taking off after Rollins and not taking his baloney. Many people, however, have questioned the wisdom of it all, going after a 7'1" guy. And actually, if it hadn't been for the foolishness of the finger biting, no one really would have been hurt out of the whole thing.
I know NBA centers have been known as big eaters, but I've never seen one try to eat a 6'5" guard before.
Boy,
that's incredible. Danny, I know NBA centers have big appetites, but I've never seen one try to eat a 6'5" guard before.
Yeah, it surprised me. I was down in the file and helpless, and he started gnawing on my finger, and I didn't know what to do but scream. I couldn't believe he was doing it.
Someone told me Rollins said something about BYU guys are kind of tough to chew, and he spit you back out or something.
Well, it felt like. I thought he was going to bite it off, to be honest with you. It hurt pretty bad.
Here's, let's take a peek. Maybe you can give us commentary on this. You're a fighter, too, evidently.
Well, I was my only choice was to tackle him. I thought he was going to come at me with some punches, and I didn't want to get into that situation with a 7'2" guy. I could barely jump high enough to get up and hit him in the head, so I had to tackle him. And
now, at this point, he doesn't have your finger, right?
No, right about, I guess right about now sometime. There he is.
He's getting the salt and pepper out now. I can see that.
Yeah.
Don't you know you're not supposed to pick on those big centers? There's got to be some little water boys or someone you can go after.
Well, I just felt that I had to defend myself, and that was the only way I could do it.
How do you feel about the commissioner's ruling, Dan?
Well, I don't want to comment on Tree's situation, but my situation I don't think is fair because I felt that I did what any player would do and what I had to do, and I felt it was unfair to get fined $1,000.
You were just telling me that in shooting practice today, you think you were shooting better. Is that right?
Yeah, I was shooting a little bit better. I don't know why. Maybe I'm concentrating more or something, but I got the two fingers taped together, and we'll see how it goes tonight, I hope.
Super. So you expect to possibly play tonight?
Yeah, it's up to Coach to, to decide on how effective he thinks I can play, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to go.
Okay, well, Lanier's even tougher than Rollins, so leave those big centers alone, big guy. Thank you, Dan. Okay, we're going to be back in just a moment.